All right, so welcome, Maggie. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for doing this. I know we were talking a little bit backstage and you were saying that you were sick, so I really, really appreciate you hanging in there and you know, willing to come on. So, why don't you tell us about your different series? I was telling you I love the Seafood Capers series, but you have like 3 or 4 different series out with multiple books in it.
Um, yes, yes is the right answer. I got to cozy mysteries because I bombed out of sex scenes in romantic suspense. That's what I was writing first, and I was kind of writing a cozy mystery with sex scenes in romantic suspense, and I didn't realize it. And I mean, I was okay with my mom reading my books, and all that, but it's just like, okay, I'm not going to describe this like 3 times for every book. I just, I'm a cradle Episcopalian. It's just not going to work. So I changed after a while, but I did have several series in romantic suspense as well. And once I started writing mysteries, I only wrote cozies, but there was a period where people kept bugging me. I'm a scientist is my background, and they kept bugging me to write about a scientist. And so I wrote about a scientist, but I wanted to fix some things. And I hope we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that later.
Please.
But because I wrote it 50 years in the future, it wasn't a mystery anymore. Once you do that, you're in the science fiction category. And I'm like, oh, crap. Because when I was in romantic suspense and cozy, because there was some overlap, there's like 2 different markets you have to manage. You have to go to conferences, and it becomes very expensive. So, and it also kind of, there's crossover readers, but not always. So, and you risk the antagonizing some readers who only want cozies. Don't waste your time on that stuff. We want this. So I don't want to make any readers mad or anything. So anyway, my first cozy series, my Cleopatra Jones series, was based on my failure at golf. My husband is an engineer, and I was a toxicologist, and we actually met making nuclear weapons. And
wow.
He wanted in retirement to play golf everywhere, and he wanted me to learn. Well, by the time I had time to learn to play golf, I realized I was very terrible at it. And, his score for like 18 holes would be better than mine for 9. So I would be just like wailing away at those balls in the woods in my ladies' 9-hole golf league and thinking I'd like to kill some people, or maybe I could find a dead body out here. And so that's what happens in my very first Cleopatra Jones mystery. And that was a lot of fun. But I got to a point where my publishing company, it was a hardcover company, 5-star, and they put out a lot of library books. So those books may still be in libraries. But they started having some difficulties. And the last book in that series, it became the last book because it didn't sell very well. It was called, all those were money. So it was In for a Penny, On the Nickel, and Dime If I Know. But anyway, it didn't sell well. So, and my muse was already moving on. So I wrote like a Christmas shop mystery set on an island near here, but was actually based on the Christmas shop at the Outer Banks, because that's one of the places I love going, just to look at all the different ornaments, because there's always things like boats and starfish ornaments and things like that, the seashore, that I like. And then one of the things is I was coming up through the ranks. It took me like 10 years to get published, and I'd been going to romance writers groups and meetings and conferences for a long time. And I met Kate Duffy of Kensington, who was a force in her day. And she said, just write something different. The things you're writing are so very similar to other things. You just need to stand out. So I'm like, all right, by God, I'll write something different. So we have a naturalist community here, which is, where people go around naked. So I wrote Murder in the Buff, and she looked at that and she said, no, this is too different. I've already written the book, time, I started having different publishers. And that became kind of a challenge too, because one publisher, you have different deadlines, and I can only write so fast. So then, unfortunately, I'm one of 5 children, and one of my sisters started having some problems, and eventually passed. The other sisters and I took care of her, and then when we couldn't, we had people come in and help her, keep care of her at home. And once she was gone, I just kept wanting to talk to her, because she was the goofiest, funnest one of all of us. And she had this defect where she forgot how to move. I didn't even know Alzheimer's or dementia could affect you that way. But it wasn't a month before she died that we were still asking her questions about family history, and she knew it and we didn't, I have so many stories about her. But anyway, so I wrote the Dreamwalker mystery series about someone who could talk to the dead. But I didn't want to make it too scary, because, I'm still kind of the person that jumps into your bed at night because something might get you from underneath, So I had a lot of fun with that. And I also like to write about reluctant heroes, the people that have certain skills and just are kind of dragged into solving a crime. And hers, she really grew in that series. Once you change series, you get all the stories jumbled in your head.
Well,
Baxley Powell.
Even as a reader, sometimes I get them mixed up in my head.
Yeah, but I had a great fun with that series, and we might talk about that later. But I know you love culinary cozies, and I have a new one of those coming out. So that series is called the Seafood Caper Mysteries. And the reason I decided to write in that particular lane of cozies is not because I'm a good cook, because I'm not. I have one sister and a brother who are both excellent cooks. My best friend's an excellent cook. I'm like the queen of carryout. I cook because I have to do it to live. It's not the same thing. I know it's not the same thing. But anyway, I wanted to write about it, and I needed a break from being in the afterlife all the time, and I wanted something fun. So I put it on an island, and people that perhaps have visited Georgia may have heard of the Golden Isles and St. Simon's Island. And that's really the setting for the Seafood Caper Mysteries. Mm-hmm. And it's so beautiful there. The oak trees just cover, they're hundreds of years old, and they cover all the roads, and they're just the moss, and the cedar trees and the pines just kind of give it a nice fragrance, and the beach breeze, it's just amazing. Except now everybody from Atlanta lives on St. Simon's. You don't want to go there. I still do go there, but I wouldn't want to live there. But I set it on the St. Simon's that I knew in the 60s. My parents unfortunately divorced when I was in 7th grade. So we moved from the small fishing village. My dad was a shrimp fisherman, from this small fishing village over to St. Simon's. And that's where I finished up in a different school system, and had to learn about starting over and just so many different things. But anyway, the main character in the Seafood Capers mystery is River Holloway. Mm-hmm. And she loves to cook. And I have had so much fun writing about her. She is just so grounded. She's not fiery like me. She's just grounded and just kind of takes everything in stride until she can't, and then she has her lines just like the rest of us. So I was very lucky to get a 3-book deal for that. I had a new agent because by then my 5-star publisher had gone out of the mystery business. And so I got a new publisher with the new agent, and I got a 3-book deal. But unfortunately, that particular publisher decided they were not going to do so many authors and books. And so they only published 1 book and gave me back the other 2. But they told me that before the first book came out. And I was kind of thinking, well, gosh, it would kind of be nice to have the whole package, By then, they had also put work into it and got a cover and done editing. And so, that's the way the story goes sometimes, and you just roll with it. So I had, by then I had gone with my Dreamwalker series with 7 books, but 5-star went out of the mystery business at book 3. So I've just immediately found another publisher to finish out the series for the next 4 books. But it wasn't quite the same experience. So I knew it would be difficult, and I did have difficulty placing that series because publishers don't want something midstream. They want to start, the whole thing with you. So I just decided when I got the rights to those 2 books back to put them out myself. And I went ahead and used the same schedule that they had been going to put them out on, which kind of made me crazy because all this happened during the pandemic.
Oh, geez.
How lovely. So actually last year I had Seize the Day. The first in the Seafood Capers mysteries came out in April. And then my other publisher is putting out the Dreamwalker books, put out All Done With It, the last Dreamwalker mystery in August. And then Spawning Suspicion, the next Dreamwalker mystery, came out in November. And I had the last one coming out next month. So it's just been kind of crazy. And meanwhile, I got all those rights back from those earlier series.
Oh.
And the books were out of print, and the ebooks were down. So I struggled and learned how to make covers and format, and got all those books reissued under my own label in ebooks and some in print books. So those are not gone forever, thank God.
Oh, good.
That was a lot of brain work.
Writing any book is a lot of brain work. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just delighted to kind of still be in the game. I do have plans for after this series, but I'm really excited about this series. And the thing is, I could keep writing in this series, but it would only be indie publishing. And if you go to the different conferences and things, they like you to be with a certain publisher. And I don't know. It's one of those hard things, where you have to make a choice. Do you want to go with, what a segment of your readership is clamoring for, or do you just take a gamble and go for something new? So that's kind of where I am right now. And those are 2 different conversations. I just need to maybe shut up now and see what you'd like me to talk about.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's so interesting. Thank you. I do want to say hi to some people we've had come in. Sophia, she's a huge cozy mystery reader. And Kay, hello, Kay. Kay is actually my mother-in-law. She's my husband's mother. She is wonderful. Hello, Kay. Cozy Reads Mystery is another cozy mystery channel that just started like maybe April. She's amazing. I do a lot of stuff with her. She's read like 500 cozies. It's incredible. Romance Queen of Booktube says hello. And then the Bookish Bryants are a married booktube couple, and they are the most adorable people ever. And they have an adorable dog, and they love sci-fi. So they said, I will be ordering that sci-fi series today. That's from Scott. So thank you guys all for coming. So yeah, are any of your characters from any of your books? You said you were a scientist, which is really interesting. Your background is what, toxicology, you said?
I actually have 2 degrees in environmental science. Back in the, I'm a product of the 70s, and we thought we were going to change the world and save the world, clean it up from all the industrial mess. And it didn't happen. We're still fighting the same battles today. And as you grow up, you kind of go, oh, there's a trade-off. You can't get energy for a certain price if you have 6 zillion restrictions on it. And everybody wants their computers to run and their dishwashers to run and all the modern conveniences. So it's not as clear cut as, the idealistic me thought it would be. I ended up getting several different jobs in the science fields relating to environmental science. I actually never worked in that. Like I mentioned before, my first job was at a nuclear materials site for the government. And I was actually in the industrial hygiene section and monitoring personnel to make sure there was no contamination.
Wow.
But that was kind of interesting because I had to do shift work. And I not only worked at the headquarters, but I also had to go out to the various reactor areas. And one of the guys that became kind of a friend, I guess. And he would always tease my husband that he had slept with me because, you know, while we were on shift at the reactor, we didn't have jobs because the people were doing the work in the facility, and we had to wait till they came out to monitor them. So we would just sit at the table, and, you know, in the middle of the night, sometimes people fall asleep. But there was no actual, you know, hanky panky or anything like that. I would have died. But anyway, that was my first science job, and then I got married because that's where I met my husband, and we went to Maryland because he got a promotion to Department of Energy headquarters. He was also in the environmental field, but he's an engineer. And so we ended up staying in the DC area for a while, and I got several jobs. One is a technical writer in the geology field, and then I got cancer research, and that was really interesting. One of my first jobs in the cancer research area was researching how to get chemicals out of soils, and we found several new products, and there was actually a drug named for me, Maggie Toussaint. So that was really exciting. It turned out to be more expensive than something that already was on the market. So, you know.
But that's incredible. That's really neat.
But it was kind of fun, you know, that there was something named for me. And my name's on you know, Margaret Watson Toussaint is on a lot of scientific papers because I ended up writing some there. And in my next position at this, when I actually worked for the Army doing water aquatic toxicology, where we were checking drinking water for the soldiers, and we had to make portable systems that could go in a trailer and they could check. And one of our systems, I know this is sideways from the talk, but it's so interesting to me. Our systems got picked up after 9/11, but let me just go back first and describe them. One of the more immediate things is you could take little tiny bluegill fish that were, I don't know, maybe an inch or two long, and you could put them in little chambers and run the water through them. If there was something bad in there, they'd start coughing, and you could measure that electronic signal. So, and we also did things, long-term cancer studies with also small fish, and we did reproductive studies with frogs. But all these things could be in our trailers. And after 9/11, both, I think New York City and somewhere in Los Angeles purchased this, our biomonitoring trailers from the Army to monitor their water supply. So that had like an immediate thing. I'm like, okay, check. I'm done. I was thinking it was like quantum leap. You know, I just jumped to my next life, you know. But that was fun. But I had always wanted to be a writer. So that's how I wrote all during all this science stuff while the kids were at, you know, Scouts and Gymnastics and Pony Club and all that stuff. So I just learned to write anywhere. And I had all kinds of ideas, and not all of them were good. You know, that's what many writers find out. You have to write a lot of bad stuff first, or at least I did, to get in. I forgot what the question was.
That's okay. That's okay. We were just kind of chit-chatting anyways. I was asking about your background, so you were answering that. The Bookish Bryants said that they're in Georgia and they love the setting that you chose for the Seaside Capers. And then Sophia said she's reading Seize the Day right now and that she's loving it. And then Cozy said she just downloaded Seize the Day on Kindle Unlimited. She also said toxicology, you could have a great knowledge for poisoning. Absolutely, Cozy. And then Romance Queen of BookTube said, I love cozy mysteries. Oh, I lost my spot. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Oh, I lost my spot.
Oh, I'm glad you're doing that because I can't see the chat. I don't know why.
Oh, you can't? Okay, let me start. I always forget you can do that. Okay. So Romance, she said, I love cozy mysteries. I have a couple downloaded for my Kindle Unlimited. That's awesome. This is the Bookish Bryants I was telling you about, the married couple at BookTube. They're amazing. It's a great way to keep your friends in line. I know 30 ways to kill a person. Have you read my books? That's Rebecca. I love that. And you were talking about, you have to go through a lot of bad ideas to get to a good one. And I was just thinking they just interviewed Ellie Alexander, which is amazing. And she was saying that she didn't get it published, but the first thing she ever wrote was something called like The Case of the Toe or something. And she's like, can you imagine? She's like, that's what I named it. It was maybe not that exact something, but something about a toe. And we were like, oh, please independent publish that. Like that would be so amazing. So you do have to go through, just like anything in life, you got to go through a lot of trials and errors. Cozy said, Becky, I'm reading Cozy Set in Georgia now. I love it. In the first chapter, they were gossiping about the main characters in the beauty parlor.
Yeah.
But they do really
Steel Magnolias. I know a bunch of people like that. So some of my books are kind of that way. There's usually way too many people, and it's all about the community, and there's some kind of teamwork involved where the sleuth has to network through all the people, and I just love that. To me, that's what a small town's all about.
And that is my favorite part of a Cozy. So are any of your characters, so like River or any of your other main characters, are they make up of a real person, like somebody in a small town that or a relative, without like outing anybody? Don't tell us if any of your victims are real. Just kind of nod your head and wink and I'll get it.
Well, I've threatened to kill a bunch of people. Let me see. Well, I think all of my characters, good and bad, have some element of myself in them, because I find when I identify with a character in some way, or if I've known someone like that, then it makes it so much easier to write. And a lot of my characterization I actually get from reading obituaries, because there's like a whole range of character traits, all clumped together. This person was in the garden club, they did this, they did that, I'm like, yeah, that works. I also sometimes get names from obituaries as well as football teams.
Oh,
yeah. So, sometimes you are just writing away and you look around and you start using the names off of your books on your bookshelf. and I don't want to do that because I've already done that. And I just need to have fresh names. Okay. What was the question? Oh, me. Who's like me? Yes. River is like me in that she is grounded, but she is also a lot like my great aunt, who is passed, but was once at, Lord, I don't remember how old she was. She was either in her late 90s or over 100, the oldest postmistress in the country, and got on TV in Savannah.
wow.
Great acclamation. But Lois was great. She has kind of, her and my mother-in-law both had the same kind of figure as River, kind of curvy like a Barbie doll would have been, but short. And people just love them. And one of the things that I made up about River was that she always smells like cookies. And people, just gravitate to her, kids and she actually, in this last book, she discovers she's something of a pet whisperer, which is hard to say.
That would be.
That's lots of talents.
I'll let you say it.
Well, I noticed on the dog whisperer, you can never hear the last when he says it. I like to watch that show too.
Is that the Caesar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Caesar Milan. Yeah, I think that some of the things that you watch, or everything I watch, I think every good author, and even some of the bad ones, we're all sponges. Anything around us that happens, it makes a mark in our memory, and we just bring it out, at different times.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I love that River is an every woman, and that she isn't afraid to do things. Sometimes I'm also, very introverted, which maybe you can't tell because I'm, jacked up on antihistamines right now. But she just goes up and talks to people, whether she knows them or not, and I would kind of look at somebody like, oh, I don't know you. And I would just be afraid, unless I was, at a conference where I knew I had to do that whether I wanted to or not. So I admire her. I admire all of my main characters, and I've had a lot of fun with my secondary characters. In this Shrimply Dead, I bring back a character and her name is LaShondra Delight. And she is a takeoff on the gal from in the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. There was a famous Black entertainer that was, I can't remember if they were transgender or like a man that dresses a woman, something like that. But I just love to bring out some of the elements that I've known. And, you know, I grew up in a very rural area, and all kinds of shenanigans happened for many years. And our county was one of the main tourist traps because we didn't have I-95 back then, and everybody came through our town to get to Florida. So we had some good income from that.
Yeah, that usually brings in a lot of money and different things. So, and you mentioned it earlier, like one of the reasons that I love Cozy Mysteries and the Seize the Day is that there is so much community involvement. That's one of my like things about Cozy Mysteries is the quirky characters. Those are the biggest draw-ins for me. And I always say this, like, I never figure out the mystery. I am the worst at solving the crime. You could like almost spell it out and I'm probably going to not still get it. But the mystery is almost second to me because I really enjoyed the setting and the goings on in the town and getting to know the characters and coming back every book and seeing what the character is doing next and what the crazy side character is doing this time and those things. Do you read a lot of Cozy Mysteries?
I don't read as many as you might think, because what happens is if I read in my genre, then I tend to start writing like that person. I have a favorite. You may remember that I said I started in romantic suspense.
Mm-hmm.
I have a favorite author there who's fortunately very multi-published, and I have followed her from almost the start of her career. It's Jane Ann Krentz, and she writes historical mysteries as Amanda Quick and futuristic mysteries as Jane Castle. And so I have all of her books, and most of them are now on Kindle. And that's what I do when I'm writing a story. I'll just reread books of hers I've read before, because I know I don't write like her, and I know I'm not doing sex scenes or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, that's what I do. And when I have time, I do read cozies, and I have I read mostly my friends' books. This is an embarrassing thing to say, but I like to read, offer reviews for them. And I actually love reading and reviewing. So I think when my brain goes, that's what I'm going to do next, is just review books.
So when you do have time to read cozies, is it hard to fool you since you write so many of them?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm really a terrible person to watch a TV mystery with. My husband says, "Don't tell me." But sometimes, you know, you can tell, because something that just is an outlier, after about 5 minutes, you're like, "I'm not going back to that." That's important, So I know how, because of constructing mysteries and deconstructing them, that was one of the things I learned in the beginning, was the way and it's part of being a scientist, is if you can take something apart, then you know how you can put it back together. And that really helped me learn how to layer in the clues in a way that I hope is not completely self-evident. But there are people that are so good, they're going to get it anyway, no matter what you do.
Yeah, I'm not one of you. You have no worries about that. Like sometimes I'm like, I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, okay, maybe I should have thought, but I'm easily, I can figure out the victim. That's because, I mean, in Cozy Mysteries, they're usually the only person that's mean, and you're like, oh, okay, well, they're getting poisoned. But yeah, I don't normally figure it out. But a lot of the mystery authors I've talked to have said that. They're like, yeah, it's hard because I see things, and especially like you said with the TV mysteries and different stuff like that, they'll see the foreshadowing and know where it's going. Becky said when you were talking about your past jobs, that was really fascinating. I thought so too, Becky. Romance Queen, a booktube said, I'm in North Carolina. We say y'all, and beauty parlors always gossip. Yeah, I think that's not the y'all, but definitely small town. The beauty parlor is a hot spot. But but I think that's a Southern thing. Definitely the y'all, but the beauty parlor, I think it might be more universal than a lot of people think. I grew up in a small town in Illinois, and if you wanted news, the beauty parlor had it. Romance queen, I love it. I'm loving the Southern talk and mannerisms. I'm from California. Dead Man's Toe. That was the name of Ellie Alexander's. Thank you, Bookish Bryant. She said her first book that she never published was called Dead Man's Toe. She said, can you imagine?
I would read a book named Dead Man's Toe.
And then Cozy said maybe it was One Dead Toe. It was something like that. And I'm telling you, I hope we can all get her to independently publish it, because that would be amazing.
That would be a hoot. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I love that name too. She said, I love the community aspect of Cozy's. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
We slowly say y'all. From reading obituaries, that's the genius idea. There's a lot of information right there, isn't there? And football teams. And then, does music ever inspire you?
Oh, I love music, but I am kind of I don't like to say the word whore, but I'm like a music junkie. If music is playing, then I have to like sing along or start tapping my feet. So I have found on Pandora a great channel, and I use music when I'm editing. I cannot use music when I'm writing, because I need that clarity and I need it to be radio silent. A lot of people are inspired by music, but I need the quiet to write. But I do like having instrumental music. And it's not always like gongs and chimes and things like that, but it can be classical music or just piano music. I can't really think of, sometimes they have like cellos playing Adele songs,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like stuff like that. But yeah, I like to sing. Actually, I'm in the choir, and I actually learned to play guitar for church.
Oh, wow.
And I used to play kind of like in a church band when we lived in Maryland. But when I got down here, it was all about the organ.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything comes down here a lot slower than it does in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
We are not behind, but just kind of set in our ways. So anyway, I love music, and I think that anything in the arts is inspirational. When I sometimes get stuck with like a writer's block kind of thing, then I will go pull out all my arts and crafts, and I love to like glue things together or make seashell frames, or I did some adult coloring. I'm kind of past that now, but I really have the nice drawing things down. I feel like I should do it more, because my husband knows how much I pay for those things.
I feel you.
It makes up the whole table, when I get that out, because then I want to see all the colors. I really love bright colors, and I've been admiring your wall.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's a wonderful turquoise. As you can see, I love turquoises. I love reds. My wall is actually a very light turquoise. It's not showing up in this light, but I always have to have a turquoise room for my office, because it just reminds me of the sea. It's very soothing, and yet it kind of revs my engine a little bit. So it's the perfect color for creativity for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the music I can relate to, because sometimes, I used to work with adolescents, and now I work with younger kids. But when I worked with adolescents, if we were doing a group therapy, like relaxation with them or something, it was called like classical contemporary. So it'd be like what you're talking about. It would be like an Adele song, but played on like violins and, whatever. And I mean, they would do it with like 9 Inch Nails. All sorts of crazy. U2 would be like, but it was, done with like a symphony. So it was really, really cool. Cozy said, I love good side character. Oh, I do too. She said the title Shrimply Dead is fantastic. That is one of the best things. We were doing a chat last night, and Cozy was on it, and some other girls that don't read Cozy Mysteries. And they're like, the dedication that Cozy Mystery authors have made to the punny titles is amazing. And I'm like, I think now they have to. Like, it's a requirement as part of the club.
People look for that. And It was a little challenging, writing about seafood. And yes, I do pick all my titles. I see that
Yep.
up here.
Yep.
I have been very fortunate that every one of my titles ever has gone right through. So the only thing that got changed once was for Death Island Style. My editor put a comma after death. So
that's really nice because some authors have said that, I mean, for the most part, kind of like you, but they've definitely had like where they were required to submit like 2 or 3. And then I think that I don't know if it's a publisher or agent. There's so many steps in writing that until I started talking to you guys, I didn't know about. I'm like, you don't pick your covers, you don't pick your titles, I mean, that sort of thing. And the amount of time that is between like getting a book deal and writing the book is incredible. And I mean, I never knew this whole process even, I'm like, oh, I just thought you sat down and typed something up and there you go. It's not. There's a lot of stuff involved.
Yeah, most of my publishers usually ask for suggestions on what the cover might be. And they usually have taken some variant of an idea. Like for Dime If I Know, I wanted there to be like a red car at like a no-tell motel. And that's like a giveaway because the sleuth's boyfriend, that's his car, and he is not where he's supposed to be, and that puts him as being a suspect too. So that was a telling thing. So once I transitioned that really helped me when I transitioned to indie publishing my books, because I already had those informations from all those sheets of what the cover should be. And a couple of times with the publisher that picked up the Dreamwalker series, I actually had to pick out photos online for them to choose from. And so that was great. And then for Confound It, I actually supplied the photo. They were really keen on having different color palettes for each cover, so they didn't look the same, or they didn't have the same look as any of my other covers. And when I got to Confound It, which was book 5 in the series, and I already had a bunch of other books, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I went to the cemetery early one morning when it was foggy, and I thought I could get some great shot. And I'm not a very good photographer. I just take a lot of pictures, and every now and again I get lucky. But anyway, I took pictures, and I wasn't really satisfied with it. And I'm on the way out of the road, and I see a pool of sunshine in the road behind me. So I get out of the car, and I take a picture of that. And what it was the sun was coming through kind of a hole in the branches of an oak tree. So it almost looks like the moss is on fire. And then it's like a spotlight on the road. And we just inserted like a ghost person in that beam. They used my photograph. So that was amazing.
That's awesome. What a neat story. That's really incredible. Cozy asked, since you are a crafter and she loves craft themes, have you ever thought of writing a series for that theme?
I might, like I say, I just have to have my brain hold out. One of the things I'm working on now is a little different because, that's how I roll. It's going to be a series, and some of it was inspired by the pandemic, because one of the things I said to my sister as we were trying to make sure we could get along, and we've been doing all of that curbside pickup. So, actual grocery shopping in a store is still kind of foreign to us. So we were stocking up on things. I said, Jenny, we just got to get, we can make some things, but we can't like make soap. And then I found out, well, I could make soap and I could make candles and hand sanitizer. You couldn't get that for a while. So I learned how to make that with
alcohol,
white lightning or some kind of, something you could get from the liquor store sometimes. But, I had the best time with essential oils with that, because it was just so much fun. But anyway, because of that, I decided my next series is going to be about a family that owns kind of a co-op store in Savannah, and they're making the candles and soaps, and they have other people bringing in like lotions and things. And it's just like an artisan's co-op kind of a place.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's been their family shop for a long time. Yeah. And I've started, getting more things to make. So I'm hoping that will be a showcase, for some other aspects. But some of the things that I've loved to do craft wise is a lot of hand sewing, and I don't have the time or the hand strength to do that anymore. There's a lot of holding in like counted cross stitch, crewel embroidery, those kind of things. I did those for so many years, and I inherited a sewing machine from my sister who died where she couldn't remember how to move. And so I love that because it's such a fancy sewing machine. You can just put the fabric in there and it just goes straight through on a straight line. I'm like, dang, I never could sew a straight line before. But anyway, I've been using that to make different things. Of course, masks during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Just anything like that just fuels my creativity. So I'm really excited about that. But I don't know if I'd want to write a book about sewing because I'm actually not that good at it. You don't want to look real close on it. And
you said you weren't great at cooking, and that series was fabulous. So
I really enjoy eating, so I made sure it smelled good and sounded good. It's just so much fun to write that series. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's a lot of fun to read it too. It's really, really good. Romance Queen, you might be gone, but thank you so much. And she said, nice to meet you, Maggie. Oh, Scott, Becky said the cover is gorgeous. The one that you took of the picture.
Yes.
She pulled it up. I love that idea. I love specialty shops and that's a unique idea. I do too. I really, really like that co-op idea. And I feel like it's really, like you were talking about with the pandemic, really relatable because like I said, I work with young kids, and the amount of them that are being homeschooled, but involved, that live in the country and that are involved in like these co-ops, and they change products, and even like a lot of them now I'm in Florida, but they'll have like this family may provide the milk because they have dairy cattle, and this family, and they really do a lot of stuff like that. And I think that's a brilliant idea. That's really, really cool. Becky said I'm a cross stitch fanatic. That's awesome. I crochet a lot. Well, I have some health issues that sometimes my hands, like you're talking about, but I crochet. I have a blanket ministry at my church that we donate. We make blankets and donate, and then they give them and so I crochet a lot, but I'm like you. Sometimes my hands don't always love that. Becky, is that the same as embroidery? The Embroidery Mystery Series by Amanda Lee is fantastic. So is there dates set for your new co-op series, or is it just still in the?
Well, here's the deal. I am about 2/3 of the way through the rough draft.
Okay.
For the first one, and it takes me about 4.5, 5 months to write a book, and then I need a couple of months to edit it, because it generally sucks. And I write the dialogue first, and then I have to edit in all the other stuff so it looks like a book, and not like a screenplay. So it just takes a while to get things ready. And then while you're doing all that, another book's coming out, or you have to plan something else, or, just life happens. So it's really hard. I admire these writers that put out more than one book a year. The fact that I had 3 out last year was just kind of crazy, but I couldn't have written 3 books in a year. That's just kind of how things came out through the staggered schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go ahead and get all of the seafood caper mysteries out while it was still fresh, and I think people are hungry for books, and they want books that are light reads, which is really what my books are. They're very fast paced and light, but I hope that people get the setting and the characters. I feel like those are really the meat of my stories.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, like the for me, that's the most important part of Cozy Mysteries. And the mystery is fun, don't get me wrong, but I really, really like the town and what people were talking about with, like, the gossip mill that goes on in a small town, and the quirky characters, and the I like when there's festivals or themes, or just I really enjoy that stuff. So I always ask this, so I'm going to ask it for River, but you can answer it for any of your other questions as well. If you were approached and somebody said, hey, we want to make the seafood capers into a TV show on, I don't know, Hallmark or something like that, who would you want to play the main character?
My problem is that I don't watch a lot of current TV, and we have been binge watching so many things online that I'm not sure. The most recent characters in my mind are things from TVs. I mean, yeah, like HBO series or things I watch on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know of anybody that's kind of well developed and really nice. Well developed, I mean by curves. So I'm not sure who would play River, but I do know that she has answered this in some of her character interviews, that if she got to play a part in a movie, she'd like to be involved in the remake of Julie and Julia. And she'd like to be Julie, of course.
Oh, like Julia. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really great.
And she
Yeah.
loves cooking. I mean, the amount she cooks, it drives me crazy sometimes, because I'll go in and I'll look at the dishes in my sink and I go, oh, they're still there. I'll come back later and like, ugh. I just learned a long time ago that, if you just leave the dishes there and just do them at night, you save so much effort, but it's depressing to look at the stack of dishes all day.
Yeah. So, based upon like what you've been watching and kind of that sort of things, and the Netflix that everybody seems to, I say to people at work, I'm like, when we ask about plans over the weekend, do you have any plans over the weekend? Really, it's translation to what are you watching on Netflix, because everybody's stuck at home. But if you were murdered, let's knock on wood that, who would you want to solve your crime? What detective would you want on your case?
Well, I love them all. But my favorite detective ever is Monk.
Oh my gosh. We were talking about him the other day.
I started doing this, to kind of frame out things because I get it, And my husband's like, stop that. But I like that he gets like stuck on a point and he can't get off of it. So I feel like he would actually get to the bottom of it, because I probably, upset a lot of people in my life, particularly by writing about them. And, if they ever figure it out, boy, am I in trouble.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. I like Monk too. I know my mother-in-law that really likes Monk. I did not know for the longest time that there was also books about Monk. I mean, of course I knew that there were TV shows, but I didn't know that there was also the books. Interesting. The interview that I did last weekend was with Lee Hollis, the brother, because it's a brother and sister writing team. So Rick came on and he wrote for the Golden Girls, but his when he was 24 years old, but his office was directly next to Angela Lansbury. And I thought that was amazing, because I was a huge Jessica Fletcher fan. So
me too. I think she was kind of like my gateway into the cozy world.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize that that's what a cozy was until somebody said, oh, murder she. I'm like, well, of course. Who wouldn't like a story like that? Because the smart person is one of us.
Exactly. And when I describe cozy mysteries to people that don't know exactly what they are, I kind of give them that frame of reference. I'm like, oh, well, have you seen, Murder, She Wrote? Have you seen even like Columbo, anything like that, where, and but Columbo was a detective. So Murder, She Wrote, I feel like is the best, like really representation that people would know.
Well, when I grew up, I want to be Charlene Harris, because she's getting all of her stuff out on HBO and Hallmark, and is wonderful.
There's a lot of Charlene Harris fans in here that I know of. Like the Suki Stackhouse is a big one for, I know Becky and Cozy both really love.
Oh, so, yeah. I loved it. I would never read vampire stuff because it was too scary, but I love that. I watched True Blood and then I started buying the books, and that way I wasn't too scared.
Yeah. See, I haven't checked it out because I'm a scaredy cat. I really, really am. That might be, I think that it sounds like it would be great, but I'm just afraid of everything. I'm afraid of my shadow. So I'm like, okay, yeah. I'll leave that one for you.
When I get scared in the movies, I oftentimes, at home, not in the theater. I try not to scream at the theater, but I do scream at home when I get scared, and it scares the crap out of my husband.
Yeah.
I don't mean to do that. I'm just like, I'm just so into it and I'm just living with it and they scare me, and I have a reaction.
No, I'm the same way. It's not even, it just comes out. I think I've scared people with my reaction to them scaring me. Oh, Brian said they love, Becky said she loved Monk. Me too. That's how we describe a cozy mystery to non-mystery lovers. Murder, She Wrote. Yeah. Oh, and Midsummer Murders, the English show. I love that show.
Yeah.
And I like Father Brown. I like all of those. Love Charlene Harris. Yeah. True Blood is my favorite show. Eric North. Yeah. So the Dreamwalker, I do a spotlighting cozy series on my channel where I take a different theme and I break down all of the different series that are within that theme. So I'm doing animal cozies right now, and that'll be featured because it's not just that there's a little, like, you were talking about how she communicate with the dead. Isn't it through her pet, or her pet has something to do with it?
She has a therapy dog. In the last book, he gets to rapture into heaven, which is really fun. I usually use, I don't know if people are very familiar with C.S. Lewis, but he's written a lot of stuff, churchy stuff. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of, I had to read some of that stuff growing up, So
that's The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And the screw tape letters, mm-hmm. various things. Mm-hmm. Lion, Witch. I hope that was his. I can't actually remember. I'm having a blank.
I'm pretty sure that's who you're talking about. And there's some religious aspect to it. And I think so.
Yeah. So I have tried to, I have angels and demons in my series, but I try not to make them scary, except for when she first meets I call it, it's like a bad boy gang. And there's like the leader of them is actually this spirit named Rose. And Rose is sort of a mentor to her through the whole thing. But Rose doesn't do anything for free. Oh, very bad things to Baxley, and I had a lot of fun with that because there's so many people that will do things for you, but they want something in return that's worse than what you asked for. So that's fun. I don't know. Baxley has a whole bunch of pets. She has, now all the cats and dogs are running together. I think she has 2 cats, and she has that Chihuahua. She has a lab, and there's like a terrier mix too that she rescued, so that she has 5 pets. She's also like a pet caretaker. Before she could get on the sheriff's department, she was into landscaping and taking care of pets. That's the Dreamwalker person.
Okay. Okay. I saw that because when I was doing, like, putting together for my animal spotlight, I was like, oh, it says that she's a telepathic pet sitter. I was like, that's amazing.
She just seems to be able to, just really understand what they need, and that's always really good. Mm-hmm. I've known some people like that. And one of my best friends is always been so involved with animals and really just seems to do that, understand intuitively.
Yeah, that's really cool. There's a lot of Suki Stackhouse fans in here. And then Becky said the Chronicles of Narnia, of course, the Narnia series, Chronicles of Narnia. Who did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Now I'm all mixed up.
I don't know, but I hesitated because I'm not sure.
All right. Somebody will look it up. Somebody tell us who did, because now not that it matters, but now I just have to know in my own head so that, people were saying that they loved the Suki Stackhouse, but didn't like True Bloods as much because, I don't know, the story was just different, I guess. I don't know anything about them, guys, because, like I said, I get too scared. I stopped halfway through this 3rd season. When do you read cozy mysteries? What is your favorite theme to read about? Culinary.
I don't have a theme. I will read anything if the writing interests me. I don't like things that are more literary because I can't read them fast. I have to linger over every word because they're so delicious. And I want to read something fast because I can't write when I'm reading a good book, because, for instance, if I read The Prince of Tides and I start writing like Pat Conroy, but it's not Pat Conroy really writing, it's me, and it's a bad Pat Conroy. So you have to write like yourself. That's really the most important thing. You have to establish your voice, and I think I have that now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So the Chronicles of Narnia, the first book is the last. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Because I thought I was, whoosh.
Well, it's scary to kind of get caught on something like that. And a lot of times I just don't know stuff. And I actually have trouble, I want you to see this. I made some copies of the book blurbs for my recent publications because I can only hold one story in my head at a time. There's not room for more than the 20 books I've done.
Sure, absolutely. So, do you think that you would make a good sleuth?
Maybe not, because I am kind of a scaredy cat. I'm not as brave as any of the people I write about, and I like living vicariously through them. That's really great.
Yeah, well, apparently I wouldn't make a good sleuth for many reasons because I never figure it out. But I'm like you, I'm a scaredy cat. I'd be like, yeah, the police need to handle that.
Well, I'm good at figuring things out. I'm just not good at confronting people or, like I say, talking to strangers or breaking into somebody's apartment. I would never do that. Oh my gosh.
Well, and I don't want to get arrested for breaking into somebody's apartment, I mean, something along that line. So, as far as the people that haven't read, so we talked a little bit about River, but do you want to talk about more of what the series is about? So she is, well, I'll let you do it. And just talk in all your series, really, if you want to kind of give us a small synopsis, because I had never read The Mossy Bog either. You have a series called Mossy Bog, right?
Right. That's also set here in coastal Georgia, but those have sex. Those are for my romantic suspense. But again, my romantic suspense was actually a cozy mystery with sex scenes. It wasn't like thriller kind of romantic suspense. It was very light. I use a lot of local history, particularly when I first started. One scene was a restaurant fire that was very suspicious. We also have a museum. I mean, a crumbling tabby structure that's left from pre-Civil War era that was falling down, and I turned it into a museum in one book. So I used my books to kind of fix things. I wanted to fix the local things, but in a way that didn't cost me anything. Because I couldn't afford to fix it. But someone has now been able to purchase that building, and they are shoring it up, and I think it will be a museum, just like in my book. The Mossy Bog series is about coastal Georgia, and each book has a different sleuth. And I think
that's different.
Yeah, it's just the Mossy Bog is the area where they're all set, and it's a different couple for each book. One's a cop, one's a florist, and one I think is a real estate person, but don't quote me on that because I'm
okay.
That was way downstream. But those books are a lot of fun, and I did get those rights back, and those are up now in ebooks. I have not put out the print books of those, but almost all of my books, I have to qualify that, are in all markets so that they're not just on Kindle. It's a big struggle for writers to decide, do I just put my books on Amazon and then get the kind of double payment through the KDP stuff, or do I want them wide so that everybody can read them? And I mean, it would be great to make a lot of money, but I'm actually in it for people to read my books and to pay back libraries that really, really saved me. I have so many good stories about libraries that really helped in the formation of who I was. And I was a bookworm from the start.
Me too.
That part's crazy. But anyway, my River Holloway series, the seafood catering series, I would like to showcase that because that's the most current one. And
it's amazing.
I loved writing about her. And my first book was Seize the Day in that series, which came out last April. And there's only going to be 3. And people are wanting me to keep writing. So what happens, and this has happened in my Cleopatra Jones series, is I wrote a follow-up novella so that I didn't have to make the commitment of a year to bring something out. And sometimes you only have like a couple of months anyway in between commitments. So if I do write something else in this series, it's more likely to be a novella, unless the new series really sucks, then I might say, this worked, I should go back and do that. Anyway, she's a finder of things, but she's also like an Earth Mother, girl next door type. She's everybody's best friend. She's always had this one particular boyfriend, though, throughout school, ever since he moved there. And he is got the world by the tail, and he is trying to make lots of money so he can provide for her. And in the first book, well, I should go back even further. This actually, the story concept came from an invitation to do something with Carolyn Haynes. She has a Troubles series about a black cat. And there was an invitation to write a short story to be part of an anthology for Valentine's Day. And so I wrote a story about River and Pete and Valentine's Day at a horse farm because I love horses. And they solve a little mystery in the short story. That's The Trouble with Horses. And I think it's the anthology is called The Trouble with Cupid. And that's still available. And my Trouble with Horses is available. But I wanted to keep writing about them. So even though they reconciled in the short story, he's still stuck in California. And he's put all of his money into this corrupt business. And he's just going down with the ship. He can't fix it. And the mob is after him. And he's afraid that if he, is in communication with her or brings her out there, that she could get dead. So he's been distant. She's been upset. So the first book is a little bit about them actually coming back together. But her childhood friend from way back, Chili Bowles, is missing. And his mother asked her to come find him. And River can't say no to his mother. My best friend's mother, she asked me for something I could never say no either. It's just how it is. There's too much history there. So she's never done anything like that before, looking for a person. And he's just missing. He's not even dead. But she knows that because his brother drowned in the sea, that she has to do this for this woman because this is her only son and he's missing. Where is he? So she starts looking for him. And in the meanwhile, the police are involved and they can't find any leads. But this detective kind of deputy latches onto her and kind of follows her around thinking that she'll figure it out. He's not from there. And nobody will talk to him because he's kind of a jerk. So the challenge then for her is to figure out what happened. And she is able to do that eventually. But because she's looking, his mom gets killed.
Yep.
And this is also a theme in my books is you can't judge a book by a cover. You don't know who people are until you walk in their shoes. And when she starts asking questions about people, she finds all kinds of secrets. And there were things about Estelle and their family that she never knew. The whole time she was growing up, they kept that part hidden. So that was really fun. She learned how to be a detective and she solved that mystery. And then the second book is called Spawning Suspicion. And that's one where, she's kind of thinking that she's going to be a caterer now. And there's lots of cooking in these stories too. Her events that she does, and people are happy for her being there. And that's good. And even I think Spawning Suspicion starts out that she's having trouble at a ladies' luncheon because her brother swiped her extension cord and she can't plug her crab stew in at the right place without the extension cord, blah, 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 blah. Brother, sister stuff. And so anyway, it turns out in that story that her brother and his girlfriend, which is one of River's best friends, Viv, they are accused of murdering an island playboy. And she didn't want to continue solving crimes, but it's her brother. So, oh my gosh, she has to. And it's really fun to kind of unravel who her brother is, who her best friend really is, and who the island playboy's best friends were. He still hung out with his best friends from the high school basketball team. And he was one of these guys that, was the man on campus. We all know those guys. And there were some girls like that too, like the head cheerleader, that kind of thing. Yeah. He was that guy, and he just kind of coasted on that popularity his whole life. And he was not a nice person. And there are just so many layers in that story, and there's so much suspicion going around. That was just amazing. I would stay up at night thinking of how can I twist this better, and I just really loved getting into that. And by then I'm kind of thinking, people are just, I can't believe they're believing I can cook, but it's not really me. It's River, and I'm just pretending that it's my sister or somebody else cooking. But this last one, Shrimply Dead, is coming out in a couple of weeks, and it's pre-order now. But anyway, River had cooked over the summer. This story takes place in October. She had cooked or catered for this freelance veterinarian. Her mother was dying of cancer, and she had brought lunches on weekdays and huge meals so they could have several meals off of them. And that veterinarian is shot in her backyard. And River just feels like, oh my gosh, I know those people. I have to figure out what's going on, because we can't trust the sheriff, because the sheriff is really a problem and not the deputies. The sheriff is in a rush for judgment. So the post office ladies are trying to make sure that we get a new sheriff in River's community. So in this community, it's not the beauty parlor so much as the post office where you get your news. And there's two elderly sisters that hold court in the post office all the time. And that's very here, where the post office is the place. If you want to find out something, just go to the post office, because everybody goes through there. They didn't used to have like local delivery, so you had to go to the post office, But anyway, Jasmine is shot, and I just had so much fun with the suspects for this one. I have a wild animal trapper.
Oh,
who, would come, on an island. You sometimes get gators in your yard, or you sometimes get raccoons or possums or armadillos. So he's that kind of a wild animal guy, and very earthy and sexy and all that, and let's see, the wild animal guy. Look, there's a real estate broker. I always go back to real estate. My mom was in real estate, and I learned all kinds of things about real estate when my mom was in real estate. There's a lot of secrets there. And okay, so I don't want to get off. My brain's going a whole nother place, which I don't want to go. So the chicken lady who lived next door is the one that finds Jasmine. And we have people like this down here, not quite to this extent, but the chicken lady is somebody that raises chickens, and she's really big on this free range chicken. She wants it all natural. And so she just loads up her chickens in her pickup and just takes them various places to graze. And everybody thinks, she's 2 bricks shy of a load, She is really fun. And her house, people have started giving her chicken figurines. So there's just chicken figurines everywhere. How fun is that? I actually took lots of pictures of chicken figurines. And now I'm worried that, I can't use them because there's so much, so many people are looking at, are your photos genuine? Whose is it? That kind of thing. Aww. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we got there's one more suspect. Oh, a rival veterinarian. And so while River is kind of checking out the rival veterinarian and going to the Happy Paws vet clinic.
Happy Paws. Love it.
The dead woman's cat, Ivy, who's a very fearful calico, who won't eat for anybody but River. And so she doesn't want to take Ivy home at first, because the feral cat she adopted in the very first book, Major, she doesn't want to have, cat fights. But it turns out Major and Ivy get along just fine. And that works out fine. But she keeps going back there to ask more questions. Well, it turns out there's this other dog there that's been in for surgery, and he's a retired canine German Shepherd, which is the kind of dog that her now husband, Pete, wanted them to get for protection. He wanted a German Shepherd because he didn't like the idea of somebody, breaking into their place. Anyway, Artie, he won't eat for anybody either. So the vet decides to put River on a blanket right outside the dog run, and River just goes out there with the food, and they have his cage open, and he just is looking, but he's not paying attention. And she's just sitting there singing and watching the clouds, every now and then mentioning his name. And he's like army crawling out, to get the food. And once he eats, he just like gloms onto her, like he physically lays on her, puts his head on her. And the vet says, he's your dog now. You need to take him home. And she's like, well, I can't. I didn't check with my husband. I already took home this other cat. I have a dog or a cat every time I come here. But she takes him, and he's perfect. Artie's perfect for their household. So I just love, that's all in Shrimply Dead. So I hope people fall in love with that story as much as I did. It's just been so much fun writing it. And I don't know, I just have such joy thinking about River because she just brings sunshine into everybody's life. I hope that's what I feel she does.
I have to go back to the first book because the name of the person that's missing, not the one that's dead, and I don't want to give too much away for those of you that haven't read it, but the missing so she's a finder of things, and the mother, approaches her. You have to tell them the children's names because I laughed and giggled for quite a while. So the one missing, and then he's got a brother who is deceased, right? The brother had passed away, and his name is so quite humorous.
I can't think of his name right now. Oh my God.
Kale.
That's right. Well, I actually grew up with a Kell, Kell. So I thought having food names for a culinary series would be quite clever.
Well, and the one missing is named Chili, but their last name's Bowles, right?
Bowles. Well, one of the things you find out in the series is that their mother, they all have assumed names. They're hiding from the husband because he was very abusive.
Yep.
So that has no bearing on the actual mystery. That's a whole nother, side story. But yeah, she just picked the things that she liked or that the kids liked. It was just fun.
It was very fun. I giggled for quite a while. Becky said I'd make an awful sleuth. Me too, Becky. People would want to flock to my town. If you were a person of crime or of that nature, you'd want to flock to my town because I would never solve the mystery. Cozy said trilogies are nice, but I end up missing the characters. Yeah. Becky said happy pauses better than happy endings. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try this series. It's really good. Lord, I'm easy to entertain. Chili Bowles. That's the name of the character. It's so funny. And then his brother's name is Kale. I really, really enjoyed that. Well, do you want to show us any covers or anything about your standalones before we go? Because I've never, you had some standalones too, right? Or is that not right?
I do have standalones, but the books I have here, I didn't grab those.
That's okay. You can.
And I think all my Caesar days must be in the car. I couldn't find those anywhere. But here's Spawning Suspicion.
Yeah.
And this is a cover I made. I put this out under my own label. How do I do this?
I'm trying to figure out how to take. We can see it because, but I don't know how to take the comment off now that I've put it up.
Is the comment coming on for everybody to see, or is that just on my screen?
I think it's on everybody's screen. If you just hold it up a little higher, then we'll be able to see it. Yep, perfect. Yep, I've already seen it, but it's very.
So there's that one, and then this is the new book, which I only have a copy of the. Let's see if I can.
The shrimp.
Dead.
Oh my God, that's the best.
My publisher. They gave me the right to use the logo, which I think is very clever. I can't quite point to it, which is a fish on a fork that says a seafood caper. But I put a shrimp. See the shrimp? Uh-oh. There's a shrimp there.
Oh, is it on the fork?
Yeah, there's a shrimp on the fork. I'm not very good at this.
Okay, now, no. It's just, yeah, my eyesight's bad is all. Gotcha. That's
So,
an amazing title.
yeah, I really like that. And I had toyed at first with somebody dying of shrimp poison because a lot of people are allergic to shrimp. But I just didn't really fit the story. But it was okay because it's still, there's a lot of shrimp that River makes, and shrimp is my favorite food. And I'm a daughter of a shrimp fisherman, so it's perfect for me.
Oh, cool.
And
That's
look, I made it big print.
That's good for me. Oh my gosh, that's good for me. People are saying, and I agree, the covers on those books are beautiful. The colors, not just the covers of the pictures, but the actual colors used, the peach and the blue. It feels very fit for an island.
Well, those are the colors I love. And this is actually, I've selected this image from gazillions online. This is actually like a shrimp pink. This color right there.
It's very pretty. It looks very islandy. Yeah, no, it's very pretty.
I can't do it. This is my last Dreamwalker book that just came out. And again, I actually designed this cover, but I did it poorly because I don't have the tools to actually cut out a face and do that. So I gave them the images, to use, and they used that for this book.
That's really neat. That's perfect.
So that's the last book of the series, and this was the one that started everything. Gone and Done It.
There you go. Perfect. Right there. Yeah, there. That's a really great cover too. Those look a little more dark than the other series, which I think is meant to be, but those are really cool covers.
Meant to be a little darker.
Yeah.
I don't have any other book covers in here. I'm lucky to have those. I did the important things. I made sure I didn't scare small children by putting on concealer. I gave myself lips, and I actually pushed my hair back.
Oh, that's funny. Thank you, Becky and Scott, too. By the way, they told me how to get the comment off, which was just basically click on the comment again.
Oh, good.
Yeah. People are the covers are beautiful. Yeah, Sophia, I agree. They're really beautiful. If you click on, okay. Thank you. The covers are really attractive.
Oh, thank you so much.
Becky said, I'm allergic to shrimp. See, you could,
Yeah.
So that's a goal of mine, Becky, not to be allergic to shrimp. That's not a goal, but to be written as a victim in a cozy mystery. That's on my bucket list. Like, for just somebody to like make me a victim, like kill me off. I mean, I hope my, killer gets found, but wouldn't that be amazing? Maybe not for other people, but
I've been to several book conferences where people auctioned off character names in their books. And there's one in Wetumpka, Alabama that I go to, that there's one lady that bids on everybody's books, and she wants to be in everybody's book. And I didn't have the heart to make her the person that got dead. I made her a supporting character. I think I made her like the coroner or something.
I don't want to be in everybody's books. I just want to be offed one time, like just be the character that, that's really funny. That's actually a great idea for like a silent auction or something like that for charity or something. Do you do any of you just made me think of that. And if you have to go, you can just tell me, but do you do any of like, I know Malice is coming up and those sort of things. Are you involved in anything like that?
I usually go to Malice. I did not sign up this year because it was just going to be too soon for me, COVID wise. My brother works for the CDC, and he just recommended not doing any traveling till the summer. And even then, check back with him.
Everybody's a scientist in your family. That's so cool.
Well, it just kind of happened that way. We just all, liked learning about how things go together. And it's not just about the outside parts. He's actually in chemistry and physics, which, hurt my brain. But I don't know.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So Malice, and I always go to Killer Nashville. That's one of the conferences that's in our region. I like to go to Sleuth Fest, but
I've never even heard of that one.
Dry for me.
The Sleuth Fest I've never even heard of. I've heard of the, of course, Malice I'm excited about because I would never get to go except that they're doing it virtually this year. So I'm really excited about it because I've wanted to go forever. And this is like the perfect opportunity because I don't have to actually travel, because I wouldn't be able to otherwise.
I didn't sign up for this year. I would have been eligible to be on a panel because of the publishers I had for 2 of my books last year, but indie published, I'm not sure if I could get a seat on a panel at Malice or some of the, like Boucher Khan or some of the others. A lot of it just depends. I'm of an age. You can see I'm letting my gray hair grow out. I can't figure out how to make it show there. And I've already had the vaccinations, and I'm just getting over the shingles. I had that vaccination series too, which was a lot of fun. That was actually worse than the COVID ones.
Oh,
yeah. But I'm ready for retirement now, but I'm not retiring.
Oh yeah, Becky and Scott have a live today. Thank you. Sophia said, when is Malice? So Sophia, I just looked, and I think it's in June sometime. But you can go, kids. It's all online. The last time I looked, they weren't open to registration, but it does give the dates. If you just go to malice.com, it'll tell you when the dates are, but it's all going to be online. So I'm super excited about that. But the last one that you talked about, Sleuth Fest, is that just like
that's
kind of like Malice too?
Florida Mystery Writers of America, and it's most usually in the Miami area, although one year it was in Orlando. That's the year I lost my reservation. We got down there. I had 2 reservations, and I left my suitcase at home.
Oh, no.
So I had no clothes, no toiletries, no underwear, no nothing. Just I had my computer.
Oh, gosh, that's so horrible.
So, you get to a certain point and not all the cylinders are firing all the time, because I got so stressed about losing the room reservation. And what happened on that particular thing, they had filed it by email and they had misspelled my email in the filing, so it didn't show up. And I'm like, and rooms in Orlando are very expensive. They're like $200 or $300 a night. So, I mean, oh my gosh. A long time ago, it seems like, but I'm not doing that again. So I like to go when I know I can get, like a roommate I know, and maybe a travel buddy, and something that's really 6 hours away or more is it's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, for readers, I actually hope they stick to doing some online, even when we're all available to travel, because like you're saying, a lot of these that are in, all sorts of states, I would never be able to go to, but I have the opportunity to do so when they do it online, even if they did like one day online and one day in person, but you could still buy an online day, because I think it's incredible that an opportunity I never probably would have had before, because I'm not traveling that far. I couldn't if we were going to go on vacation, I might be able to talk my husband into like, yeah, no, I just really want to go to, such and such. And meanwhile, then when we get there, I tell him there's a conference, but other than that, I'm probably not going to quite convince him, which I don't blame, I understand. So I think it's really cool that they're doing that.
What part of Florida are you in, Tiffany?
I'm about 10 minutes from Sarasota. 15 minutes.
It would be an easy drive for you to get to Sleuth Fest, I think.
Yeah. You said it's in Orlando or Miami?
It's in the Miami area, and it's usually February-ish. I don't know what they did this year. I think they may have just put it off until next year again, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, see, I could do that. It's just when they're, further away. But yeah, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to write that down, Sleuth Fest, because I never had heard of that one.
People can search for Sleuth Fest or for Malice Domestic. Just Google it and it'll come right up.
That's what Malice comes right up. And I've been doing, you're in Georgia, right?
Right.
Okay. Because the Key West Library does a lot of online, and I don't know if a lot of Cozy Mysteries authors live in Florida, but there's a lot of them involved in it. The Lucy Burdett and some of these others, they must quite a few of them live in this area, and they do a lot of panels too. And I've been doing that, and that's a lot of fun. But well, I look forward to, you said, do you know the date? The third book comes out.
It's
3 weeks.
April 12th. Yes, it's a Monday.
April 12th. Shrimply.
I encourage people to sign up for my newsletter, which is, you can do that on my website. It's at MaggieToussaint.com.
MaggieToussaint.com.
Yeah, and I try not to send out too many newsletters. It's usually quarterly, except if my book doesn't fall exactly on a quarterly mark, oops, you're gonna get an extra one from me. So that's how that works. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I know that yesterday you weren't feeling great, so I really appreciate you coming on, and it was very fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. And I know I'm looking forward to the third book, and I'm going to try to find some of these other series too, because now you said a lot of them are available on ebook. I haven't been doing ebook as much just because of my eyes, but now that I know that you can find some of them, I'm really excited about that too, because I really love the river series or the seafood series.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here and to have a chance to meet some new people virtually. And hopefully you'll see that, the kind of person I am, I try to write, there's some substance there, but it's also a little flighty, but it's fun, I hope.
That's what's fun about cozies is they are light reads. I mean, that's why I like them, and I like the, flighty and fluffy and all that stuff. I mean, I'm kind of drawn to that because I may not seem, but I'm also very much like that. I can't keep, I'm all over the place. I'll say I'm kind of like a puppy that's, I'm like, ooh, birds, ooh, ooh, banana. Like, meanwhile, you're talking about, whatever. And it's just, I'm all, yeah. So I really enjoyed having you. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And April 12th, we will be looking for your next book.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Have a good day. Bye, everyone. See y'all later. Thanks for coming.